friends, greetings to all watching the video. I welcome you all to another episode of Convo with Apricus. Friends, in our day-to-day life, we often come across children having special needs. Children with special needs are identified by developmental delays, medical, psychiatric, and congenital conditions. Such children need special care and attention. We need to give proper care and attention to them. The education and proper training of such children is also a cause of concern. We need to have knowledge about the education of children with special needs. That is our topic of discussion today. And to throw light on this topic, we have Professor Dr. Jayanti Das with us. Dr. Das is professor in the Department of Education, University of Calcutta in Kolkata, West Bengal, India. She has over 20 years of experience in teaching and research. She has many awards and publications to her credit. She is also an honorary member of editorial board in International Journal of Society and Education. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to Convo with Apricus. It's great to have you here for the discussion. Ma'am, let's start the discussion now. Ma'am, could you enlighten the audience by identifying the characteristics of children with special needs?
Yes, actually, children with special needs can be classified into so many categories, but here I will mention mainly 5 categories, that is physical impairment, visual impairment, hearing and speech impairment, mental ability, and learning disability. Mental ability is associated with mental retardation and various types of, and learning disability. And there are also so many types in learning disability. And besides, there are gifted or talented students who need special treatment, special care in the classroom situation, and also in our local environment. And I think, and so sometimes students with girl, that means girl students, who also have special needs, especially according to me, they are double segregated by the society, especially those women who have so many kinds of disabilities. So I think children with physical disabilities may have locomotor problems, and locomotor problems are related to muscles, joints of the body, which affect mobility of limbs and extremities. So the students or the children with such impairment or such disability may find difficulty in attempting those learning activities or those day-to-day, that means daily activities, which need physical movement. So though they possess learning capability similar to other children, they may have some specific problems in learning, for example, a student with rigidity in the finger muscles may have writing problems. Such students may also have postural problems, which bring in fatigue and limit their performance in certain learning activities or learning situations. So such students develop adjustment problems because of non-acceptance or ridiculed by their parents. So when we are talking about physical impairments, that means that particular children has deformity in neck, hand, fingers, waist, legs, and maybe has difficulty in sitting, standing, walking, and also has difficulty in picking up, then holding up, or holding any kinds of objects, or putting them at the appropriate place. Maybe they have frequently complaints of pains and pains in joints, and has difficulty in holding pen to write, and walks with jerks or involuntary movements of limbs. Maybe some children has already amputated limbs. So these are the symptoms, or these are the facilitating characteristics of physical impairment. And there are also those children with visual impairments. They have some another types of characteristic features, that is observable deformity in the eye, and rubs eyes frequently, especially when in the classroom situation. We often see that those who are visually impaired, they often rubs their eyes, and frequent reddening of eyes, or covers one eye and tilts the head forward and holds object, including the book, close to his eyes, or ask other students or ask other persons for help when taking notes or when taking something from the blackboard or from the nearer part. And maybe sometimes we see that they're blinking, continuously blinking of their eyes. That means blinking frequently, or squints eyelids together, and watery eyes, complaints of headaches, and bumps into people or object. These are some characteristic features of those children who have visual impairment. And some students have hearing with hearing and speech development. And in that particular case, we often see that they have observable deformity in the ear, maybe in one ear, maybe in both ears, and frequent discharge from the ears, or complaint of pain in ears, and scratches ears frequently, and turns head on one side to hear better, and sometimes frequently request teacher or teacher others to repeat directions and questions, and makes many errors in taking dictation, especially in the classroom, or while listening to the teacher or others, watches his face carefully, and sometimes displays speech difficulties. Now I'm coming to the low mental ability and mental retardation. And the low mental ability, or those who have mentally disorder, sometimes we see that displays poor academic achievement, sometimes forgets what he or she has learned after a short time, or is inattentive and distracted, shows too much reliance on presentation of concentrate various kinds of objects, seeks immediate reward, and sometimes displays fear of failure, or has poor self-image, or lacks self-confidence, has restricted communication, sometimes has poor muscular coordination, or has difficulty in doing things for himself, like eating, then dressing, bathing, or grooming, etc., or has problem in following what he has been told, sometimes learned at a slow pace, seeks more repetition and practice as compared to other students. Especially, I'm talking about the situation which we, the teacher, are facing in the classroom. And sometimes they avoid active participation in day-to-day classroom activities, and shows too much dependence on concrete examples, or sometimes they are too much dependent on others. Now I'm coming students or children with locomotor disability, and they generally one child who does not read well, although his oral answers are intelligent, sometimes makes mistakes in spelling, write B in other form of D, and especially omits letter in words of or changes their place. Just for example, I can say PAT pat instead of TAP tap, or felt FELT as LEFT, or remember, that is instead of remember. Sometimes writes numbers wrong. That is, for example, 1, 2, that is 12 as 21. Or write 69 when asked to write 79. sometimes is distractible and cannot remember timetable, and is always untidy and late in submitting homework, and late coming to the class, and does not perform well in examination, although he is clever and he has no physical disability, but this kind of obstructions we generally see in the classroom situation. And sometimes they are so excited that he is unable to complete any task and omits words or lines in reading, and even in writing also, and reads individual letters in the words, but has difficulty in putting the sounds of letters together. For example, he may say sound B-E-G and say bat, or sound A-4-G but say frog. This kind of characteristic features we often see in the classroom or in the day-to-day activities.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, according to you as a teacher, what are the techniques through which the children with special needs could be dealt with for their all-round development?
Okay. So, you know that as the population of children with special needs continues to grow, more and more teachers, then say leaders and other adults are finding themselves working with these children for the especially first time. So many of these adults are volunteers, apart from teachers, give their time and expertise, and others are highly trained in their field, and but have little or no knowledge of disabilities. So here I have jotted down some 8 especially important tips who will be working with you with the special children. First one is that is interact. Interact means the biggest mistake that adults make when they meet someone. Just for example, Louis is a special child and is failing to interact with him. Usually they try asking him a question. That means that is he hates question, he won't answers, and then the adult gives up and starts talking to themselves. So one time a person shouted questions at him from across a field and couldn't understand why that particular child, for example Louis, ran away. So the same rules of polite conversation apply to adults and children. First, introduce yourself, or sometimes we should introduce ourselves and explain how we are connected to the child. And depending on the child's special needs, it may be necessary to take the child's hand, place a hand on the child's shoulder, and or even touch each other faces to make a proper interaction. That is, how are you, beta? What are you doing now? Then explain the activity that you will be doing with the child. So explain the different steps of activity, including the beginning and the end, while making as much eye contact as possible. This is called interaction. Next one that may be observe, that is observation. We know that some children with special needs perceive sensory input in different ways and may be unable to verbalize discomfort, that they cannot express themselves in so many ways. So remember that all behavior is communication. So always keep a lookout for these differences and think about what the child behavior is communicating to us. If we are not sure what we are seeking, ask the child's parents and or other adults for advice. What the actual need of the child. We can ask their parents, because they are too much nearer to that particular child. The point number 3 is that use common sense. That maybe my son has a negative experience in an adapted swimming class many years ago, just for example. So the children in that particular children in a class may be ranged 3 to 18, or 2 instructors are there for learning how to swim, this kind of. And there were several problems with this plan. First, in the swimming pool, when the instructor is there and he's teaching how to swim, then first the water is deep, and the particular child is sitting at the edge of the edge where which is generally danger of falling in. And second, the particular child are shivering while they waited for their turn, which heightened their anxiety and overall discomfort. So all of these problems could have been avoided easily with common sense. Put safety first. That is, they are learning how to swim. So put safety first and arrange the whole environment for physical and emotional comfort. Actually, these particular children are seeking this kind of environment, that is comfortable situation, comfortable environment. So by contrast, I'm just giving an example. That is Inclusion Basketball League at the it was arranged in the London. It was a model of common sense and positive support. On the first day, pairs of children practiced passing the ball to each other or to build up their confidence. And adults circulated around that particular environment to make sure everyone was safe and have a good time. So children who needed a break had space to relax, and during the game that day, each child has a chance to throw the ball and score. So this is the part of use of common sense. And number 4 is, that is very much important, that is be flexible, because some adults say that they will not change the way they do things, and sometimes we the teachers are very much rigid that no, in this way you have to do, no, don't do that, do in this way. So this kind of teachers, they do things to accommodate one person in a group. So, but the whole point of teaching is to use a variety of methods to help this type of children understand and master new skills. For example, if a child refuses to let go of a parent, so bring the parent into the activity, involve them, and for a few minutes to reduce anxiety, then fade out the parents. So in this kind of a teacher, especially a special educator, can manage the whole situation. Next is, that is be consistent. Obviously, if a set of rule is presented to the particular child or a group of children, apply those rules continuously to everyone. Don't segregate that for you this kind of rule and for you that kind of rule. We should not do that. And number 6, that we should use visual, auditory, or tactile cues. That is, having the right cues in an environment can mean the difference between participation and non-participation for many children with special needs. And tactile cues such as that is a gentle touch, that particular child's shoulder, offering a blanket or other soft fabric, or providing silly putty are easy ways to mark a transition and get a person's attention. That means sometimes soft touch can change the whole situation. So I think as a teacher, it should be done. And number 7, I think that teachers should have a plan, and obviously backup plans. That means if one plan fails, then another plan we have to use. So plan and also backup plan continuously go simultaneously, because maybe sometimes in the classroom situation, one visually impaired child is there and another one hearing impaired child is there. So we know that for visual impaired child, which kind we use one kind of plan, but for hearing impaired child, we cannot use the same plan. So we have to change the plan. So for this reason, we should have a plan and also a backup plan. But because we don't know which kind of children, because our situation, our environment now is inclusive environment. So for inclusive pattern of classroom, we should arrange a plan and backup of plan. And last one, that is be positive. Obviously, a positive attitude is the single most important quality for anyone who works with children with special needs, especially the teachers. The teachers, when we are handling this kind of children, this kind of students, we should be positive, because positive attitude can boost up their knowledge, can boost up them that they can do they can do everything like other able persons. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
And what challenges do a teacher face while dealing with children with special needs?
Okay. So generally, in this situation, I have pointed out just some top challenges generally teachers face in a special needs inclusive classroom. That is, number one, that is lacking experience in an inclusion setting. Number two, lacking experience with severe and profound disabilities. Generally, the special educator has no problem with mild and sometimes moderate children. But if children are severe and profound, obviously, teachers or special educators should think over that. And another top challenges is creating activities that include all the students. That means all kinds of children with special needs, and educating students with less severe disabilities. And mainly number 5, but it is very important, that is dealing with death. I will discuss just thoroughly. Number 6 is not having enough teaching aids or teacher aids. Number 7, maybe teaching compassion to students. Number 8, dealing with parents of typically developing students. And number 9 is addressing individualized lesson plans. And number 10 is coordinating therapies. So when I'm talking about lacking experience in an inclusion setting, that is, some teachers have not been exposed to special need classrooms. And these can be a disadvantage. Now, special education teachers may find the first year to be especially difficult, and educators need to coordinate efforts and understand the needs of the classroom in terms of developing skills and lesson plan. Because without lesson plan or without preparing any kind of learning design, a teacher should not, I repeat, teacher should not teach this kind of students. And they have to behave just like their friends, just like their peers, just like their parents, just like their family members. Number 2, that is lacking experience with severe and profound disabilities. Generally, students with severe or profound disabilities require more adaptation and more medical attention than the average students, because sometimes those who are severe locomotor disability, those who have severe locomotor disability, actually they need facility of hospital. So because sometimes if parents think that no, my child, maybe he or she is severe or profound, no, he or she will attend the inclusive classroom. Okay, let them try. Okay, they will, and they will join. They will face the situation. So teachers must be skilled in this case, must be skilled in handling severe disabilities by creating different kinds of lesson plans, or we shouldn't use the term lesson plan, that is, especially we should use learning design based on individual abilities and adhering to each child's dietary needs. If the teacher doesn't have sufficient experience, the child may not progress in their skills, or in the worst case scenario, they could experience adverse medical incidents. So the teachers should be aware of this particular situation. And number 3 is that creating activities that include all students. Don't segregate the students. We should include all the students. Maybe they have severe or profound disabilities, but we should include all. And that is, special needs inclusive classroom must be able to involve all of the students in all of the classroom activities. Teachers need to address how the students will communicate with each other and encourage everyone's participation. If teachers see that that particular child is segregated with each other, no, don't do that. You go and say, you come and join with us, because you know all the things with us. You come and join with us. We can do and we can share with each other. So if there is a lack of adaptive equipment or adaptive communication and language tools, it makes it difficult for teachers to lead a united classroom. And next one is that educating students with less severe disabilities, because when there are children of all abilities in the classroom, both physical and academic, children in the middle can easily fall between the cracks. That means in one part severe and in one part mild. So middle part, that is the children, sometimes they feel that we are different with each other. Maybe they are different with each other, but these children might have learning abilities or hearing impairments or language delays, to name a few examples. Or providing the right amount of attention and adaptation can be challenging for teachers, especially if there is a higher teacher co-student ratio. And the next is very important thing, that is dealing with death. Sometimes as a teacher, I faced that one particular child came with me and asked, ma'am, what is death? And really, I was surprised to hear the particular word, that what is death? Because death is difficult for any teacher to explain to their students. Maybe they are normal, but that means normal, not we shouldn't use normal. Maybe those who are able students, but this kind of students, when they are asking that, madam, what is death? Especially, really, I felt at that time very challenging situation, that particular child is asking me, that is, what is death? And after death, where we go? And we do something in the other place. After death, our body, our hand, our legs are there or not? So what will be happened if I see that my parents are not there, my teachers are not there in that particular situation? What I will do, ma'am? Then really there may be students with some chronic illness, and really teachers may have to help in this case, especially their class, to share various kinds of stories, to sharing with some kinds of stories like angel, that angel come and then angel will give you something. After death, we will meet with God. This kind of story we should analyze, or we should describe, or we should explain with this kind of children. And the other challenging is that not having enough teaching aids. Normally, inclusive classroom have a regular educator and some special needs educator. And so due to the nature of the classroom, generally, and not only nature of the classroom, especially its size, it is imperative to have an appropriate number of teaching aids to assist the teachers with day-to-day activities. But teachers often don't get the resources they need, including teacher aids. So this is the very challenging situation, because we know that teaching aids nowadays are very much expensive, especially to inculcate this kind of special needs children. And number 7, that is teaching compassion to students, that not all students have exposed to persons with special needs before, and this becomes a challenge for teachers. So teachers must not tolerate insensitivity and cruelty. They must teach that all students are to be treated with respect and regardless of ability. And number 8, that dealing with parents of typically developing students, just like the students, some parents are not used to dealing with persons with special needs, and teachers need to convey to parents how the classroom is conducted, and they need to reassure parents that every student's need will be met. So obviously, if parents think that okay, this environment, this inclusive classroom is suitable for my child, then obviously they will depend on the teacher, they will depend on us, that yes, ma'am, okay, my teacher, my son or my girl is really safe to you. So another is that is addressing individualized lesson plans, that is individualized education programs, in short, that IEPs are important for helping special need students succeed, because they are varying abilities in an inclusive classroom, and teachers need to balance multiple IEPs while addressing individual academic needs based on ability. And another thing is that lack of training. Sometimes we see that teachers, special educators especially, are not trained in their particular field. Say they don't know how to handle that particular child. So I think that special training or training on that particular ability, on particular disability, is very much essential for the teachers. And another is that extending curriculum equally to all, because an inclusive classroom should accommodate the needs of all students, and this responsibility often lies entirely on the teacher rather than the school. So there are several activities and subjects in a school that may be difficult for a child with special needs to participate in. Trying to involve all students in engaging with every activity can be extremely difficult for a teacher, especially if the student finds themselves incapable of performing a particular activity. And last but not the least, I can see that we should modify our lesson plan or learning design, especially those who are ADHD, attention deficit, hyperactive disability. This kind of children are there. So we should change, or we should modify the lesson plan or learning design.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for explaining in such a comprehensive manner. Ma'am, my next question is regarding a situation called dyslexia. We often hear about this term and children suffering from such a situation. Ma'am, what are the measures through which we should deal with children suffering from dyslexia?
Dyslexia. Okay, actually, first we should clarify the term, that is dyslexia. It is a developmental reading disorder. That is, in short, we can say DRD. that is developmental reading disorder that occurs in children with normal intelligence, and it is a reading disability despite intelligence, motivation, and educational opportunities that occurs when the brain does not properly recognize and process certain symbols. Actually, this means difficulty, and lexia means words. Thus, dyslexia means a person who has difficulty with words. And dyslexia is a disorder that affects millions of people all around the world. Approximately 5 to 17% of the world population is diagnosed to be suffering from various degrees of dyslexia. And dyslexia is caused due to impairment in brain's ability to translate images received from the eyes or ears into understandable languages. So here dyslexia is most common learning disability affecting at least 1 in 10 children worldwide. And this translates to 700 million children and adults who are at risk around the world. And according to the estimate, we have seen that 32 million in the United States, 6.4 million in the UK, and 125 million in India will potentially have dyslexia. And dyslexia affect girls and boys alike, and that means both. And this, if undetected by the 2nd grade, that the dyslexic children grow up to be dyslexic adults, at which point there is no cure, and they have to learn to accommodate. And hence, if teachers are trained in early identification and intervention of dyslexia, 90% of those affected can be educated in the mainstream classroom, and adult dyslexia can be prevented. So some dyslexic children, we already know that extraordinary intelligence, that is Albert Einstein, Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison, Winston Churchill, Benjamin Franklin, and Mozart, John Lennon, they are dyslexic children. So now the question is, what are the causes? What are the main causes of dyslexia? Mainly, I can divide the causes into some points. That is, first one is neuroanatomical. Neuroanatomical, that dyslexia is caused due to impairment in the brain's ability to translate images received from the eyes or ears into understandable language. It has been proved that the brain of dyslexic person is structurally and functionally different from that of others. And studies have shown that the inborn wiring system of the brain related to the developing mental skills in dyslexics, and this is the root cause of dyslexia. So now the question is, what are the symptoms of dyslexic children? That is, I have found 4 major symptoms. Number 1 is that difficulty in verbal skills and abstract reasoning. Number 2, impaired hand-eye coordination. Number 3, that is poor concentration, perception, and memory. And number 4, that is impaired social adjustment. Generally, these problems result in the individual obtaining poor grades and becoming classified as an underachiever. So due to this, dyslexic child is often labeled as lazy, low intellect, or unmotivated. So eventually, this affects the child's personality, resulting in a low self-esteem. So some of the common modes of presentation of dyslexia are that difficulty in comprehending, difficulty in expression, that is maybe written or oral, understanding letters phonetically, that means when they are hearing some particular word, that means B instead of D, this kind of, and difficulty in reading, and inability to memorize, and difficulty in spelling and reading, and difficulty learning in any language. Now the question is, how is dyslexia diagnosed? So we know that early intervention is very, very effective for dyslexic children. Early intervention. when any reading or writing disability is present sometime between kindergarten and second grade. It is important to check for other health issues like hearing problems or vision problems are there or not, or ADHD, that means attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is or not. First, so they can be eliminated. And teaching methods or approaches should be adapted if it helps so. So if the problem persists, an in-depth assessment might become necessary, and the child's problems and all intervention tried so far have to be discussed with the teacher along with the school's special educational counselor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ma'am,
Okay.
What are your opinion regarding the new education policy 2020 of the government of India with regards to needs of special children?
Okay. So based on the recommendation given by the Kosturi Rangan committee, that is in the year 2019, the national education policy has been brought out after 34 years. And this is a very comprehensive policy covering all the level of education, and the policy is spread into 4 parts. Equitable and inclusive education is covered under school education, that is NEP 2020. And in this case, the Act emphasized on the barrier-free access as a non-discrimination measure. Just I'm pointing out some major issues. That is one is schooling, because NEP 2020 affirmed all the recommendation given by the RPWD Act 2016 regarding school education, and the policy has given high priority to enabling regular schooling process from foundational stage to the higher education for the children with disability. So children with moderate to severe disabilities will have the option of regular or special schooling. That is that was discussed in NEP 2020, I think part 1, section 6.10, as far as my knowledge goes. And number 2, that is school complex, because school complex will be provided with a resource center inside the complex itself and other resources. And school also must ensure the recruitment of special educators with cross disability training, and the school will be supported to provide individualized accommodation and support mechanism in order to fulfill the need of every child with disability. That is NEP part 1, section 6.11. And another is that third one is that curriculum, that is supportive device, and assistive device, that means assistive technologies. And we know that NCERT worked on expert bodies to make national curriculum framework. And NIOS is responsible for developing high quality modules to teach Indian Sign Language, and through this to teach other basic subjects. So the curriculum will be flexible according to child's strength, which will allow the children to work on their own space. For example, those who are mild category, they need the one kind of curriculum. But those who are severe or profound category, they need separate kind of curriculum, because they are, we have to remember that they are severe patients, they're homebound patients, but they are coming to in the inclusive setup. So we have to prepare the whole curriculum, whole environmental situation according to their own needs. And especially that should be barrier-free environment, no barrier for them. And number 4, that is teacher. NEP 2020 talks about reform of teacher education program and sensitization, early intervention, support, special pedagogy to teach children with disability to be an integral part of educational programs, that is NEP 2020. And another one is that is assessment. National Assessment Center, that is PARAKH, PARAKH, will formulate the guidelines and recommend tools for the assessment of the children with disability. And this will be for all the exams, including the entrance test from the foundational stage to higher education. And another very much good thing, that is homeschooling. Because the homeschooling option will be available like before for children with severe and profound cases, because already we have discussed, I have told that severe and profound case means that they are homebound. So school should be homebound. School will be according to that. And the resource centers and special educators obviously will provide support for homeschooling. For homeschooling, all the guidelines and standards will be developed recommended in the RPWD Act 2016. And the orientation of the parents will be done through the technology-based solution. That means homeschooling not only for the particular children, but for a particular child, also for their parents, because they also need they need how to teach, how to tackle the children in home and in the inclusive setup. They should know all the and technologies, all the assistive devices, and they should be aware of that, which kind of problems their particular child is facing or not. So homeschooling included home training is needed. And I think apart from these positive attitude, that is attitude is one of the most significant part of inclusion, and teachers are the pillars of our society, of our education system, only can bring a positive attitude among all students, including the students with disabilities through inclusive setup. This requires the teachers not only to be sensitized towards inclusion, but also well-trained for the inclusion. And NEP 2020 talks about the reforms in teacher education program to inculcate the values and skills required for inclusive education. And last but not the least, that is resources and support, because assistive, supportive device and other resources according to the individual needs must be available in the school. When it comes in to supporting NEP 2020 has a very detailed plan, and the resource center supports not only the school, but also the homeschooling parents. The school and the parents must be provided support by the state for quality education. And obviously, orientation programs, sometimes refresher programs for the parents, as well as teachers providing homeschooling are also a part of NEP 2020.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. You came here, you participated in the discussion and explained the topic so nicely. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.